Today we acknowledge the anniversary of the Syrian uprising. On this day, 11 years ago, the Syrian people took to the streets in the name of freedom, reform, and human rights. Bashar al-Assad responded to this peaceful call with brutality.
Let me start with some questions tonight. What was America's war on terror really about? Was it about gunning down terrorists? Or was it about killing civilians and bombing nations to control them? I'm sure you know the answer. I'm sure you've seen many headlines and exposés this year. Tonight, we come to you with more proof. The United States is no guardian of human rights. It is guilty of war crimes. And this has become a trend. The United States of America bombs countries at will and gets away with it. That's because nobody is holding them accountable. Neither international agencies nor international media, and certainly not our leaders.
Here's the thing. We know exactly the kind of horrors Russia is capable of enacting on a civilian population because we have seen it before. The Syrian civil war began 11 years ago today, actually, on this very day. And a few years later, in 2015, Russia entered the fray to help prop up Syria's embattled dictator, Bashar al-Assad. Russia's involvement in the conflict took things from bad to worse. Russian President Vladimir Putin used the same strategy we are seeing now of indiscriminate bombing.
So tonight we want to tell you about an American war crime, yet another American war crime. This one is from Syria. What did the U.S. do? They ran a death squad, a secret mission. They ran it for 5 years. This group, the death squad, pounded Syria with more than 100,000 bombs and missiles. 100,000. They killed innocent civilians. How do we know about this? A recent report has exposed this secret strike cell. This group was called TALON ANVIL. What is TALON ANVIL? That's code name for a secret American military unit. It operated from 2014 to 2019 for 5 whole years. This unit was led by members of the Delta Special Forces. So what were they doing with TALON ANVIL? They were bombing Syria at will. They bombed whatever they thought was a target. This group was first stationed in Iraq. Then they were moved to northern Syria. The team had less than 20 officers. They worked round the clock and in 3 shifts. This was basically a 24/7 operation. And whenever they spotted something they thought was suspicious, they ordered a strike, just like that. No background checks, no effort to verify any tip-offs. You see movement you don't like and you strike. That's how they operated.
Who is the head of international law at Stoke White, a law firm that investigates war crimes, and he joins us now live from London. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on the program. I want to start off by asking you what you make of this New York Times report and the inconsistencies in what the U.S. government has said compared to private investigations.
So this small but very effective military unit that they have created that has organized and facilitated the strikes that cost the lives of many civilians in Syria, and this news about them coming out now with a report from New York Times, it's an amazing piece of news that actually shows us the kind of immunity these people think they actually enjoy. If you read the article, it actually talks about how political leaders have actually allowed the military leaders to make these kind of decisions, and then even the generals have allowed the junior officers to make such decisions about strikes that cost lives of many civilians in Syria and Iraq. And so Americans basically thinking that they have right to make these strikes. They think they're fighting the ISIS and justifying it as if they're fighting a terrorist organization, as they are. But at the same time, killing civilians is something they seem to be easily accepting and justifying it by saying it was a successful fight against a terror organization. But at the same time, knowing great details how many thousands of civilians they've killed along the way. It's unacceptable. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there is no international platform where we can actually fight to seek justice for the victims of these civilians, because American courts do not address this issue, nor are there effective international legal body where we can actually take these cases.
This hasn't just happened in Syria and Iraq. The Pentagon recently said that none of its personnel will be held responsible for a deadly drone strike that happened back in August on a family car in Kabul. I mean, 10 people died in that strike, 7 of them being children. Why aren't they holding anyone accountable for an incident?
the results of the investigation I directed following the report of civilian casualties from our strike in Kabul on 29 August. Having thoroughly reviewed the findings of the investigation and the supporting analysis by interagency partners, I am now convinced that as many as 10 civilians, including up to 7 children, were tragically killed in that strike.
Being the outcome of execution errors and a tragic mistake.
We have a serious problem. And the problem we have is this is just going to get worse. It's not going to get any better because the value of upholding the rule of law has diminished, and it's diminishing more. International Criminal Court prosecutor, newly appointed, Karim Khan, excludes American war crimes in Afghanistan. The problem here is they have the feeling of immunity, that nothing's going to happen.
From a legal perspective, how would you evaluate U.S. strikes conducted for counterterrorism purposes?
They must have a solid evidence before they strike. And if they're fighting a terror organization, they're justified to strike the terror organization. The rule of law exists in this area. It's quite clear. But they must refrain if they have any dubious information that they have collected, as they have done in the past, and they admit it. They should not be striking. It's very clear. Now, politicians may somehow hide behind immunity, but the officers of these military don't have immunity, and they need to be held accountable for their decision-making and killing of these children, women, elderly, men, who are actually working on the fields in Syria. That has been destroyed. Right. Everybody's life has been destroyed by the reckless actions of these people. They have no accountability, and that needs to stop immediately.
Mr. President, after everything we've seen, are you ready to call Putin a war criminal?
No. Did you ask me whether I would call? Oh, I think he is a war criminal.
I think he is a war criminal.